With 1,000 horsepower, an estimated 329 miles of range, and of course more bells and whistles than a casino full of slot machines, the GMC Hummer EV Pickup can take you just about anywhere. From cross-country trips, hands-free of course, to the farmer's market for weekend shopping. From your favorite local bookstore to family reunions. From 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers to just about anywhere off-road, as long as the battery has enough juice and the truck fits down the trail. No. Nope, there's not much that big rig can't do, including break all the rules, probably by driving over them and pulverizing them into dust, since the thing weighs more than 9,200 pounds. Because of its size, capability, and inefficiency, the new Hummer defies basically every electric vehicle convention. It's practically as anti-EV as its gas-guzzling forebear from 20 years ago, even though of course this vehicle does run purely on electricity. Above all else, off-roading is Hummer's forte, not commuting to and from the office, so if you're going to do that, just get a Nissan Leaf or something. But here's what makes this truck such an off-road beast, and right up front, we have these massive tow hooks. Look at the size of these things. You could practically pull a semi-truck out of a swamp with those, and they have to be overbuilt, because again, this truck weighs more than 9,200 pounds, and the forces involved of pulling it out if it's mired axle deep in mud are huge, so those parts have to be heavy duty. But making sure you don't get stuck, this truck is fitted with 35-inch tall Goodyear MT tires that have, of course, a pretty gnarly tread pattern on them, though 37-inch tires will fit on this truck. These enable you to scale 18-inch verticals and drive through up to 2 feet of water. Now that is not quite as much as a Jeep Wrangler will do. Properly equipped, they'll handle more than 33 inches, but of course, 2 feet is still a very impressive number. We also have an adaptive air suspension system on this truck that will raise the body by 6 inches, and that gives you just shy of 16 inches of maximum ground clearance. And of course, suspension movement, 13 inches both front and rear, some very impressive numbers. At the back of the truck, we have rear wheel steering that of course greatly enhances the maneuverability of this vehicle, and it enables a feature called CrabWalk, but more on that in just a minute. With one of these Hummers, neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor the gloom of nuclear winter will keep you from getting rotisserie chicken at Costco. Now, while I'm still outside, there are a few other features worth pointing out. This truck has a 5-foot-long cargo bed, and you access it via GMC's ingenious multi-pro tailgate. This is like a tailgate within a tailgate, and it gives you 6 different postures. As it is right now, makes it a lot easier to reach in and grab cargo in the bed, or you can fold this part down, which serves as a step, or makes a great place to sit just like that. Now, one other feature with this Hummer that you're not going to get on other pickup trucks is the removable infinity roof. So you step up here like this, pull a couple levers, and these roof panels pop right out. Set it here carefully, just like that. Provides an open-air driving experience. Engineers were also smart enough to design these to fit in the front trunk so you can take them off while you're out on the trail and have them in a nice, secure place. Now, interesting story here. When I got this vehicle, it rained that first day. I took it for a drive the next day, and water started leaking. And I don't mean a couple drips. It was a big stream pouring out of this center divider here. So I reached out to GMC, and they told me this component here has actually been redesigned. Though to try and diagnose the problem, I pulled both roof sections out to see. Everything looked like it was properly seated, so I didn't see that there was anything wrong with that. Chad had this truck after me. He took it through a car wash, and then he had no problems with leakage. So maybe me removing these panels and reseating them fixed the problem. Anyway, moral of the story, for getting a Hummer, make sure it has the redesigned center section right there. And up front, behind this light-up grille, we have a frontal trunk. It's kind of slow to open. There it goes, as you can see. It's a little small for the size of this vehicle, of course, full of a bunch of production gear as well, but it's a great place to store stuff, and it clocks in at about 11.3 cubic feet, which is a little bit smaller than you get in the Ford F-150 Lightning. That gives you about 14 cubic feet, but still, this is a very nice feature to have. Now let's jump inside. Underneath my feet is a huge 212 kilowatt hour Ultium battery pack that contributes mightily to this truck's bridge collapsing curb weight. And if you're curious, that's enough battery capacity to build 3 Chevrolet Bolt hatchbacks. Is that bolt like a lightning bolt or bolt like a mechanical fastener? I think it's the latter because the nuts behind the wheel. Inside that energy reservoir, the chemistry actually uses 70% less cobalt than before, which is great news because that material is increasingly difficult to get. There's also wireless battery cell management that helps maintain balance between the various cells for improved performance and longevity. Providing the ability to DC fast charge at a thundering 350 kilowatts, the battery in this truck can actually switch from 400 to 800 volts, and when it is hooked to an appropriate power source, this vehicle can absorb up to 100 miles of range in just 10 minutes. Now, we also have an EV Pulse Charging Challenge video in the works where we put this all-electric pickup to the test to see if it really charges as quickly as the automaker claims. So make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel for that feature, plus a whole lot more. Next, let's talk about range. According to the manufacturer, this Hummer should be able to go 329 miles between charges, which is a pretty impressive figure for something this gargantuan. Now, unfortunately, there are no official EPA figures for either efficiency or range because the gross vehicle weight rating exceeds 10,000 pounds, which should make this exempt from EPA testing. So, driven normally in the real world, we are only getting about 1.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which for an EV is terrible, though in this truck's defense, it's only 19 degrees Fahrenheit out right now, and you can probably see my breath as I talk. So yeah, cold temperatures really impact efficiency and range in EVs. Now, for a little comparison, back when we were testing the Ford F-150 Lightning earlier in the year, that pickup was getting about 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour in mixed driving, though to be fair, it is about 2,700 pounds less than this GMC, plus we were testing it in the summer, so the conditions were of course much more favorable. The Hummer EV Pickup's interior is interesting. The overall design is blockier than a Soviet apartment building with no shortage of edges and hard lines. Now, there are a few too many different colors and textures in here for my taste, but for the most part, controls are well laid out and everything feels solid, with a couple minor exceptions. We have the standard issue GM control stalks here that feel like a limp chicken wing. When you reach to grab the seat belt, the trim here on the B-pillar is very scratchy and hollow sounding, which I don't like. And then we have the sun visors here, which they do extend. However, they do not go far enough to block all of the side glass, so what's the point? Ahead of the driver, we have a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster that is very easy to read, and of course it's nice you can cycle through the various menus here using controls right on the steering wheel. And then on the dashboard, we have a lovely 13.4-inch touchscreen. This display looks great. It is crisp and clear, though the infotainment system that lives in there is not the speediest that I've ever used. Now, it doesn't really stutter or lag, but it just kind of moseys along at its own pace, and that's particularly evident when you switch over and use the drive mode selector dial. It takes a couple seconds for this to pop up, and then that, of course, is how you cycle through the various drive modes, though curiously, you can't do it with the touchscreen once you have this display up, which is kind of odd. And then of course it sort of fades away, so turn the dial again, bring that up. You can, however, adjust various settings using the touchscreen, but nope, you cannot change drive modes using the screen, which is weird. These front chairs are pretty comfortable, if a bit firm and flat, so be aware of that. As for the back seat, it is commodious with acres of room to really stretch out, plus the lower cushion flips up to make it easier to carry large cargo, and there are hidden compartments integrated right in the backrest that are perfect for smuggling, like Monster energy drinks or something, whatever Hummer drivers consume. But buckle up and let's see if we can evade the police, or maybe the FBI, or, ooh, possibly Interpol. This truck features 3 electric motors. We've got 1 up front and 2 at the back. And altogether, they deliver an estimated 1,000 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque, staggering figures. And of course, you need a lot of oomph to move 9,200 plus pounds of pickup truck, to tow 7,500 pounds, and haul a maximum payload of 1,300 pounds. That triad of motors also gets you torque vectoring at the rear, as well as locking differentials at both axles for added traction in really tough situations. The ride in this truck is really pretty good, even on bombed out dirt roads, which is what I'm driving on right now. Body control is also fairly good, though trust me, you do not want to hustle this thing through corners. That is where you really feel the Hummer's weight. Of course, you are never wanting for power. This Hummer accelerates with laughable ease at any speed and up any incline you can find. But if you really want to impress your friends, you just slow to a stop. Then, once we're stopped, you double tap the traction control off button and then confirm in the instrument cluster. And this engages something known as watts to freedom. It is a surprisingly theatrical driving mode that lowers the vehicle, gets the battery ready for blast off, plays a sound effect, and then of course it buzzes the driver's seat. So once it goes through all of this, you'll stand on the brake, you peg the accelerator, and then you let go. And with all systems go, that will get you from 0 to 60 miles per hour in the 3-second range, which is absolutely astonishing for a vehicle that is this big and heavy. And the Hummer hits with such force, it actually takes your breath away and sends camera equipment flying everywhere. My video producer Ben just looked rather shocked after I launched it here, and justifiably so, because it's pretty violent, and frankly, I'm surprised the CV joints can handle that gigantic hit of torque. In more normal driving situations, that 4-wheel steering makes this Hummer feel shockingly agile, especially at low speeds. Seriously, it feels about half of its size, and you just have to get used to the ass end sort of moving in weird and unexpected ways. Now, the turning circle is just about 37 feet, which is actually tighter than a Toyota Camry's. 4-wheel steering also enables something called CrabWalk, which is diagonal driving. Now, this is a bit of a gimmick, but I guess it could be handy out on the trail for skirting around boulders or something. But when you engage it, it almost feels like you're driving on ice, because the vehicle is moving in such a weird way. It's strafing from left to right rather than turning in like you would normally expect. Despite this truck's shocking agility, parking is still a little bit intimidating, both for you as the driver as well as other motorists and pedestrians, and that's because the Hummer is so wide, tall, and long. Aside from those ponderous dimensions, my biggest complaint about this vehicle is the wind and tire noise, which should not be surprising. This truck has the aerodynamics of a parachute, and those Goodyear mud terrain tires are seriously gnarly. I mean, just listen to the racket as I drive on this unimproved road. To help recuperate energy that would normally be wasted, you can turn on a surprisingly aggressive one-pedal driving mode right through the infotainment system here. Now, there's also a handy regen on-demand paddle mounted right to the steering wheel, which does basically the same thing, and either way, I really like how this truck handles regenerative braking. Lastly, you can get this truck with enhanced Super Cruise, which is GM's excellent hands-free driving aid that supports automatic lane changes and allows you to tow. Now, if you've seen me review this technology in the past, you know that I absolutely love Super Cruise. I think it's the best in the business. It's confidence-inspiring, it's easy to use, and of course it works on some 200,000 miles of approved highway in both the US and Canada, though it does not work on dirt roads. Oh, a possum, look. Bringing this review to a close, the GMC Hummer EV Pickup's incredible off-road capability, organ-liquefying acceleration, surprising maneuverability, and unmistakable design make this one of the most unique electric vehicles ever built. Naturally, there are some downsides. This truck is ridiculously heavy. In some areas, the infotainment system is not as speedy as I would like. The interior could be a bit richer, and this is not an efficient EV. Also, this Edition 1 model is expensive, checking out for $110,295, including $1,595 in destination fees. Now, of course, that is a lot of money, though at least you do get a lot of vehicle. 1,000 horsepower, four-wheel steering, Super Cruise, an adjustable air suspension system, removable roof segments, and then, of course, a battery pack that is large enough to power a small city for several weeks. Personally, this is not a vehicle I would ever want to own, and I don't really understand the Hummer EV Pickup's appeal, but it is an undeniably impressive piece of engineering, and that's kind of the point. This is an extreme example of what an electric vehicle can do. They don't all have to be low-slung, ultra-efficient, wind tunnel optimized passenger cars. GMC is kind of recalibrating expectations for EVs, and I think that may be this Hummer's biggest accomplishment. Watch my full review of the Polestar 2 if you're looking for a smaller, more sensible EV than some hulking Hummer. This car is fun and efficient, it's stylish, and of course drives very well, so get the whole story by clicking right over here.